This episode is brought to you by Hub24, whose purpose is to connect advisors to innovative solutions that create opportunity. They're massive supporters of advisors, in particular those going solo, and they're one of the early players in the managed account space, and their epic functionality in that area, as well as their commitment to user experience, has led them to become a market leader in terms of advisor satisfaction. I can speak from personal experience when I say their BDM team are total legends, and they're there to help you work through the best solutions for your business. So you can check out more information at hub24.com.au. This episode is also brought to you by Centuria, who are a boutique, ultra high-performing fund manager. They've won pretty much all the awards there are to win. They've got a bunch of 5-star rated funds, and they're heavy into technical support for advisors around their products and strategies. On top of that, they're just an awesome group of people, and they've got a dedicated team there to support you. And if you haven't already spoken to the guys at Centuria and heard about what they do yourself a favor and reach out.
Roxy, aka Andrew Rocks from the Announcer Group. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you for having me.
We're pretty much, Clay and I have decided we're just going to hand it over to you, and we're just going to listen to you talk.
Yeah, that's why the Maltesers are here. When I heard you were coming on, I was like, okay, I'm not going to get a word in, and it's just going to be laughing the whole time.
So on that, I'm pretty keen to start on policy statement 312. I know that a lot of your listeners are very interested in the minutiae and the nuance of every legal.
What about that policy statement?
I really want to focus on the word if. Yeah. And if has a...
Yeah.
Mate, what's happening?
Actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think, the industry's in change, but you know my thoughts on the industry. We've spoken many times. I'm not an avid believer in the traditional financial planning.
Which is now becoming modern financial planning.
Modern, okay, like Modern Family. Okay.
Sophia, what's her last name?
Yeah.
So all your clients look like that.
we did privilege here. How's this work? Right? No, so one of the things I suppose I like to challenge and have done for many years, and for those who don't know me from Burrasoba, I've been doing this for 24 years.
Wow.
And is the notion of what financial planning is. And I've got a little sort of set of questions I like to ask, and I'll probably ask you guys just to challenge you on what you think financial planning is. And
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Okay, yeah. So Clay, in your lifetime, what is it that you think is going to be your largest expense?
Me, rental mortgage.
Yeah, that is a very large one.
Yes.
What else would you say?
Beep. Children.
Children. Oh well, good. Congratulations, by the way. This is
an
exclusive. Yes.
Not yet.
No children.
Jesus.
Yes.
Alcohol.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. Okay. So there's a definitely
historically. Hopefully that changes a bit in the future.
Well, I suppose, Adrian, just a bit of contemporary, bringing up to speed. The craft beer tax rate has gone down, so that's going to help your financial planning. Ka-ching! I put that one in the opt-in.
So I'm making money by the more I drink.
You are making
Zinga.
Sounds like a Ladbrokes ad. No, actually, to be really honest, the largest expense in your lifetime is going to be the tax that you pay. It's just that the government's quite good at collecting it.
Yes.
The second largest, more than likely, going to be your mortgage, and the third, if you were that way inclined, is going to be your children. Alcohol, sadly, is going to to be quite a distance behind that. So
I guess.
Wow, I must be spending a lot on my children.
Yeah, there you go. So when I challenge the notion of financial planning, if you're actually going to be relevant to your client and you don't address their tax, you don't have an accounting, either firm or a partnership, you don't have a mortgage broking business or advisory, you don't do any sort of real estate referral or advice, and all you do is the financial planning, you're kind of doing what we used to accuse accountants of. You look in the rearview mirror. You're behind the eight ball. You're not front and centre. So the reason I'm here is I know that a lot of the ex-wide people have either already integrated that or ask really positive questions on your forum. So, look, I'm happy to be in this forum because I believe they're progressive.
Awesome to have you here. So you're saying tax and property up front.
Oh, mortgages, debt advice. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So
linked to the tax outcome to an extent.
Yeah. It was just it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in an era where the term value has been sort of rammed down our throat. It always has been, by the way, by the consumer, but now the industry is becoming aware of it. If you can legitimately get your client to pay a little bit less tax and a little bit less interest per annum, and given the metrics of what that normally is, it normally far surpasses what an annual fee for service is for a quality financial plan. So,
you remind me of who's the big mogul? I saw it on Facebook this morning. Kerry Packer, when he was that famous one where he's in front of the.
Exactly remind you of Kerry Packer.
You know what? That's precisely who you remind me of.
If people in Australia don't look at minimising tax, they've got to get their heads checked.
Yeah.
That famous one where he's in front of the government and he's like.
I'm glad you somehow wrote.
Yeah, not physically or. Otherwise, I'm
flattered. Thank you.
Just this toffee.
Just keep going.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No, just because you're a mogul. That's it.
Mogul.
Can't even ski the moguls.
Next question.
Next question, please.
Mate, but that's a really good point that you put there. Because a lot of advisors, myself included, never did or don't do mortgages.
Yep.
So what do you feel about that?
Well, the definition of doing mortgages is not correct.
Okay.
It's like the definition of doing property. It's advisory.
Yep.
If you've got a client that has a mortgage or is thinking of getting one, let's just start with they have a mortgage. The banks make profit. I think we're all aware of that. Rowena Orr has highlighted that ruthlessly over the last couple of weeks. They're reliant on your client's apathy. And in a lot of examples, just going back to their incumbent bank with a little bit of textbook, with a little bit of knowledge, being a credit, authorised, having all the ticks behind your name, you will get a discount on their mortgage. Now, if that's, if that's part of your relationship building to obtain a new client, it's a great tool to have in your kit bag. And either they're going to get a discount on their mortgage with their incumbent, or alternatively, they're not. But the goodwill that you're going to generate the next time they do anything that requires them to change their lane, you're going to be doing it with them. You're going to stay relevant.
Yeah.
And the notion of things like, annual reviews and opt-in and whatnot, with a lot of clients and a lot of XY people, for instance, there's probably a bias these days towards wealth accumulators. They're always doing things.
Yep.
Okay? Every 3 or 4 years, something happens, right? So, for instance, yourself, you might have a child. You might get cirrhosis of the liver. We've been through both of those. You've got all these life events that will probably happen. So there's things that you need other than just reporting on whether your SMA has made a dividend imputation. I think the days of being quasi fund managers are far behind us.
Well, I think it's that value space. It's like how do you communicate something knowledge that they don't necessarily have or is not in front of them.
Yep.
And how do you get out in front of them and help them?
And you're keeping it pretty simple.
Yeah, and keep it simple because I think that's the challenge with a lot of advisors. Sometimes you get a bit too complex about what you want to communicate. Like the budget's probably a great example. Yeah, like there's different ways of communicating the budget. I know you've taken a different slant on that.
I don't know if you read my one yesterday, but one of the comments for those who don't know, I write a satirical post on the budget, and it's kind of it's a pre-Batuta style. And
Batuta meets financial advice.
And we did that because our clients, we'd sent it out and the open rate was just abysmal, and then we were getting calls. And we wanted to get them to open it. So I would do a top 10 points. So 2 years ago it was a Game of Thrones theme. The theme yesterday was not as important, but I'll give you just an excerpt into one of them. So there's now a $10,000 cash limit on what you can pay, right, in cash.
In cash, yeah, for
That's
businesses,
right.
yeah.
So basically I've got tradesmen, tileys, sparkies, builders everywhere. There's half completed houses in all capital cities. We quoted a tradesman and a swinging voter who wrote, "It's going to be a effing small granny flat, mate." So we get them in, and you'd be surprised. All it does is that I suppose it gives them a little bit of engagement. We put at the bottom that it's a pretty poor attempt at humour, which it generally is. And then, surprise, surprise, they click on the PDF that's all technical, and what it does is clients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So that's what we do, and I would encourage. I know that you've got people in your community who do that style of thing. Keep it up.
Yeah,
videos. Send a few videos. Go out. It's all good. Everyone's having a crack.
Absolutely, absolutely, and our budget is our Super Bowl. So if you've got, if you're not watching it, we actually get a fair bit of cut through of when we send photos and videos to our clients of us actually watching the budget. They're probably more interested in us watching it than actually the advice afterwards, because they're like, happy days, back to Handmaiden's Table, baby. You know, like, I'm not missing a damn episode of that one. It's intriguing, isn't it? You know? I reckon after Rowena, she's the most mysterious woman at the moment on this planet.
So is the idea that, like, they're getting the feeling for what you guys are focusing on. So they're like, we don't have to worry about it. Roxy's got it covered.
It's trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, every business coach that's ever been in financial planning, clients need to trust you at the very core of their belief, and then they've got to, you know, believe in you as well. But they don't want blind hope. So they like that. They really do. And that constant communication and, you know, a lot of people use surveys. We've used the Bedos Institute over the years and Most Trusted Advisor, and I suppose I've no association with them, but they run a pretty good survey. So, and really, really instructive feedback. But, you know, like all these surveys, who cares about the numbers, right? It's all about the comments. And when you get to the comments, you've always got the positive and the negative ones. And if you lined them all up, and I would challenge everyone to do, if anyone's done a survey, all the positive comments have the word communication in them. And all the negative comments have the word communication in them, verbatim. Okay? So if we're now actually talking about the word that changes them from negative to positive, then why don't we train our people to be better at that? Why don't we focus on that? And how you get communicated with is different. So if you're running a practice and you've got a one-size-fits-all communication process, you're going to probably get 25% of it right. And I think, you know, another change over the years, so you know, we didn't start this business the way it is now. It's evolved, I suppose, you know, is we're also quite a big believer in HBDI or psychological profiling. We offer our clients that as part of coming on board. So we do the profile for them and their partners, for instance, to work out what kind of communication, because, you know, yourself, Adrian, you might really, really love a phone call and value a direct phone call, and your job might allow you to take that phone call. You may not, you know, be in surgery or whatever it is, but yourself, you might always want an email because you're a bit more analytical. So if I'm sending you out the one piece of correspondence, I'm going to not get it right at all, or either get one of it right.
Wow.
Okay? So we get them to rank how they want to be communicated with, when during the day, and then we send that out.
Seriously, you ask them, how do you like to be communicated with?
In their service agreement before we take their money.
Fair enough.
And
that's
then,
a good idea.
Yeah.
Mate, that is infinitely better than a good idea. That's brilliant. That is, I mean, it's simply, you hear advice is asking good questions. That is a great question. That is a great question to ask people. And they, I'd imagine, are probably appreciative of being asked that question.
You know what? You know what's scary? Is they think that everyone else does. They think they think that why wouldn't you? It makes so much sense to do that.
Yeah.
You know, so we know that most of our time poor executives do all of their communication with us on their iPad or their this is like the ABC. I'm not allowed to say anything, am I? Their
you can say whatever
their
you
tablet. Oh, it's the ABC. I can't say tablet, or can I? Hey, who knows?
That's the ABC. You definitely can.
Yeah, they might need one this week. Take the blue one. So we really need to time shift. We need to have a look at when we're engaging our clients. So if a client really wants to see you, but they diagnose or they get all their information at 9 o'clock at night. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not probably going to be rocking around knocking on the door. Good to see the kids are asleep. Husband's in the state. I'm here for the plan, right? So given that that's not going to be a practical option, what with the travel time and having to log books and all that sort of stuff, we send out pre-recorded videos for those, and I know that quite a lot of you guys will do that as well. But just give them what they want.
So some segment of people get pre-recorded videos. Some get a call in business hours. Some get an email. Some get some other form of communication.
That's right, and it's a prioritised ranking, right? So we obviously like the a face-to-face. A limbic touch is pretty good. You know, you don't underestimate the the connection when you shake someone's hand or physically have them in a room. But I think I don't think that many of the XY advisors struggle taking on new clients. I don't think that's
correct.
That's it. I think the real pain point for them is once they're on for a couple of years, how to make sure they're continually relevant to them and how they're building their business, right?
So, what do you suggest?
Well, and that comes down to, do they have a job that they happen to work in, which is their firm, or are they building a business?
Right.
And this is, I wouldn't even say it's a $1 million question because it's much bigger than that, unfortunately. So you've got to stay continually relevant. And you've got to make sure that you are comfortable in segmenting your clients. So a generalist approach, a general store only works if you stay open 24 hours a day and pay people from overseas who don't have visas, right? And it's illegal. So the general store staying open all the time is not conducive to you. You've got to try and find out the sort of clients that you're very good at and then immerse yourself into their world, become part of it, you know. Classic example is we have a lot of people with kids in primary school,
right?
Okay, and that's the demographic. We've got like two key demographics, and the 30-year-olds to 45 is one of them, and then we have their parents fundamentally, and we do the intergenerational thing. But let's get back to the 30 to 35. Anyone who's listening, a mum or a dad who's got kids that are at preschool, you're probably not listening, right? You're probably too busy. But in 10 years' time, when you accidentally click on this because Adrian's done the voice or something, right? And we're doing a back catalogue, then
more likely to be Clay, by the way. That's
yeah.
So
I'd be Dancing with the Stars.
So
the booty shaking with the stars.
I hate to bring this back in, guys. We're trying to center this.
Sorry.
So what we did is we said, why bother giving clients, alcohol? It's probably, we promote health and well-being. So what we did was we gave them the gift of first aid courses specifically for first aid on children, and we did one week where it was a mum's night, so that they could come in, and we had first aid people, and we had, nibblies, quite good quality, nice cheeses, it laid out really well, and I think we may have even had napkins. And then they did, and it was all focused on first aid, went for 3 hours, and then because it was mum's night, the dad stayed at home with the kids, and then the next week we had dad's night. Dad's night we had coon cheese and crackers, and they used the toilet paper to mop up the spills, and but either way, it was a really cool thing.
Yeah. And you've done this. That is not in your service agreement. You haven't charged for them, or did you charge for them, or how?
No, it's just relationships are either improving or declining, and we just went, well, what's relevant to them? So people want. So there's a couple of limbic points there, right? So first of all, you're doing something that's really relevant to them. And what's the chances the next day when they're in the primary school playground talking to all of your other target market, they don't tell everyone? Probably the bloke won't, right? To be honest.
Loved me some coon cheese last night.
I can tell the difference, right? So the lady will have probably listened to the whole thing, right? So kids out there, if you're listening, make sure mum does the CPR. She's probably gone and said, "I had a really good night. I've met some, women, like-minded women, all going for the same thing, blah, blah, blah." And we did this first aid course by my financial planner, who's wonderful, blah, and that's a really awesome thing. So we pick up referrals. Whereas the bloke said, "No, stayed late at work, got a freebie from a financial planner who went to the establishment afterwards." And his potential referrals like the establishment, cool. Did he pick up the first round? Yep, cool. Can I come and see him? So, so either way, you've got to think laterally about people, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we're getting to a pretty efficient frontier of the actual advice delivery. I think that almost if you threw a blanket over all of your listeners and all of your members, you're going to get very small variances in the quality of most of the advice. It's all good quality.
Yeah.
And so now to differentiate yourself, and you can only make supernormal profits in inefficient markets, so you've got to create an inefficiency, right? So
arguably, it's been there for a while.
Yeah, true. But you got to differentiate yourself by the other things you do. So,
definitely.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's good. That's some good stuff, man.
It's
I wasn't expecting that. That's great.
Well, it's that intangible space that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
with Dante.
But rather than me just yelling the word intangible, you've just given an awesome example of that.
Yeah, those are all the answers of what you need to do.
I just had two intangibles then.
So they are very tangible to your waistline.
I want to do the Mentos, the lady does the fresh. Anyway, I can't do it. It's quite an ad though, isn't it? With the feathers. Anyway,
Can we get them to sponsor that?
Yeah, Maltesers.
Product placement.
Absolutely.
So, Roxy, that's awesome. Like, I think those ideas and those are some of the conversations that are coming into XY, but I reckon there's space for a lot more of them. Because
Heaps
I think
more.
the challenge that you talked about everyone sort of being in the same space and the quality of advice, and I agree with you. I think that you can assume that there's that same sort of benchmark of what's going on. Then you've got the how they do it and how they execute on it, like with the technology and processes and team. And I think that's where you get some huge discrepancies, and that's where a lot of people still have pain, and that's where a lot of the conversations in XY sort of focused on how do you make that sort of the delivery of the standard easier.
Yep.
But then the next stage is what you're talking about. And it's like, okay, you've got delivery of what the standard is. It's happening, it's moving, it's working. How do you fucking tweak the thing to make it just optimize and tap into your clients in a better way?
You've got 2 points there. And the first point is going to come down to business 101. Don't overanalyze what you think you need to do to build relationships with clients. Just make the decisions. Don't worry about what other people are doing, because it comes across how you deliver that. So I'm a big fan of making decisions because that's what your clients expect you to do for their affairs. So if you're not in your business making decisions, if you're waiting and looking and learning, you wouldn't pay yourself. So I would encourage people to, whatever decisions they want to do, make them, risk assess them, whether it be financial risk assessment, and just make the mistakes. Because I think, business 101, you're best to get your mistakes over and done with when you're not playing for sheep stations, to quote Kerry Packer.
Actually, you just remind me of another quote. There's one I read a couple of days ago from Bezos, Amazon CEO. And it's like, they just ask, is it reversible or is it irreversible?
That's it.
And if it's reversible, just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lower level of threshold, just jump in and take some action.
That's right. The other, I suppose, thing that we've managed to do over the years is once you've got that with the clients and you're really just focusing on them, then you can actually grow scale. So I know a lot of businesses out there sort of get stuck around that sort of $600 to $1.2 million worth of turnover, and the reason for that is that what makes a good manager of clients may not make a good manager of people, and vice versa. So there's no silver bullet there, but I would encourage you, unless you're currently, the leading indicator of the health of your business is the client's opinion of you.
Right.
So just because you've had a good year financially, before you expand and take on more people, triggering extra costs and payroll tax and whatnot, you've got to only do that the year after you've just nailed your client surveys. Because it's a bit like Paul Keating, it was called political capital, right? So you need to pick up client capital. And client capital is the most important commodity for when things go bad. So if you've built up client trust and client capital and something goes wrong, a share market has a major problem, or there's a
Royal
big piece
Commission.
of the budget comes out and does something crazy, they're going to allow you time to get to them and to communicate, because you've got that client capital or that political capital is there. But if you haven't spent any money in the good times, if in the good times of client you've built up no capital with them, well, then you deserve to fail.
Well, it's not necessarily a money thing, but either.
No, it's all about human capital. It's human capital is what I'm saying, Adrian. It's because
showing you care.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So,
but mate, awesome example with that first aid course.
Yeah,
like, blowing my mind.
We've done it year on year. It's good.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So I can give you the context. They run a really funny and great show. It's
the people that come in.
You feel free to mention it.
I will have to get you the details because I don't know their company name off the top of my head.
Well, if anyone listening to this on the Facebook group, just ask for Roxy to...
No. Em will definitely...
Em will put him in.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
Mate, so you're originally from a tiny little town,
yeah,
right? And I definitely want to duck into that. And then you turned up in the city, built this company 25 years ago. You started in advice. In that time, you've become Australia and New Zealand's healthiest employer.
That's right.
Yeah, I got reprimanded on that before.
Yeah, very sheepish look of that, you know.
Well, especially for the New Zealand one, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't get subtlety at all. So, where does this come from? Do you have somewhat of an internal struggle against the way things are done? You know, that concept of we do things around here. And so you've turned up in financial planning. We do things like this around here.
Yeah.
But you've basically ignored it.
Yep.
Do you think that comes from coming from the small town and dating your cousin?
Well, I didn't want any of my other mates. There's a quote in that as well, isn't there?
I was the best out of a bad bunch. So.
The most scary. So before I get on to the funny part, well, I suppose we'll get to the serious part of that question. I have done that Ancestry.com swab test, and I am clear.
You're clear.
Swab test.
So,
not everyone is.
Very small phone book with only one or two sets of surnames, boys. So it was Boggabri, and
where is Boggabri?
If you come on, don't be coy. I live at the Paris end of Boggabri to be there. No, it's out near Narrabri, Moree. Your listeners will know. They're probably driving past it now. So I suppose the question is, you know, what made me do it? Well, it's you're a function of who you are in your environment, and I was lucky enough. My grandfather had his own business in agriculture, and he had a manufacturing plant and manufactured products for cattle and sheep. But at the essence, and this was crazy coincidence, he was the first person to do a fact find when he went out to a farmer. So he'd go out to the farmer and he'd do a fact find on their animals. And then he would then take that to a scientist and then write a report and a plan on a nutrition plan. Sounds familiar? Wow. And then it was bespoke, and he'd organise it, and then we'd do a monthly fee associated with this, and then we'd send the product. So we did advice, and we had productors there, and we were vertically integrated.
We had a butcher.
We did it once over at Salt Lake, right? So I feel a bit David Murray-esque here. But so what? But all that's irrelevant. What would happen is he was all about relationship, and when he spoke with a client, he just used to care about them. And I've there's another series where I've spoken about this, and I would go out with him on his runs before mobile phones. You open gates up, and we would go to their farm, and there would be a note on the door, and it would say, "Well, we're not here." And we're going to be back in 2 hours. We've put the roast out. Do you mind turning the oven on to 220 and popping it in? We'll be back in a couple of hours. While we're there, can you go down to the shearing shed and have a look at the microns in the wool? And then we come back, and I'm like, what is happening? Aren't these? I'm like, don't these people, aren't they clients? And like, we rock up and then go there. Good old Catholics, say a prayer, have some meal, do that, have some red wine, go to sleep, drive away. I said, what happened? Yeah. What happens? He goes, they're a big client. They just did an order. It's like $20,000 order back in the 80s. I'm like, he goes, because they did it every year and they trust me. I care about them. We do that. And so I just figured that at the heart of everything's relationship, because we're humans, and the way in which we get educated is very much not playing the human, it's playing the product and working backwards. I would encourage a lot more education on whether it's psychology. I'm not going to endorse one or the other, but behavioural economics or psychology or something along those lines.
When you say product, are you meaning actually almost the technical product, like the strategy products?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I mean. I mean the not the relationship. As opposed to
not as like a super fund, like the technical overlay that you're putting on there.
Yeah, because we're inherently agnostic, right? So. That's what I would encourage people, and that's what drove me to think, well, and also we had intergenerational transfers of clients, so parents would refer kids, etc. And so I thought, whatever business I'm going to be in, and I want to be in it for a long time, I have to perfect the intergenerational transfer up and down. So when I first was involved in Announcer, a young planner, most of the good, really big planners were after the 64 to to 65 and a half year old clients, and back in the early 90s, and I was going for the 25 to 35 year old, and they're now 20 years older than that. They're now older, and I would definitely encourage taking a leaf out of the family office book. So intergenerational meetings are really clever things, and so you offer them up as a standalone product offering to your clients, and say, well, your clients might be the children, and say, look, I've done a family tree for you. That you've got siblings, you've got other things, you've got parents, you may have step parents, who knows? Why don't I get them all in a room? You pay for one meeting, we get them in, and we just talk about all those things that are a bit taboo. I'll be like the gatekeeper, and let's get it out there. And it works. It works. This is what the wealthiest people in the world do. This is how they transfer wealth between generations, in mainly overseas. We're a very young country. Then again, I did meet a chap the other day, and his family business is 150 years old, and they've got rules around if you want to be in there, you've got to be a certain age, have done a certain level of qualifications. They've got quite a charter.
Wow. Yeah, right.
But you can actually strip that back. You don't have to have clients with endless wealth. But why wouldn't you do that? I mean, we've all got issues of potentially our parents needing health care and retirement, and then then our children needing funding. So I think that's probably, if you're not doing it, you're mad.
Wow.
Quote unquote. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I think, playing up, because it takes you out of you actually have to be multi-demographic, be able to wear those hats. And yeah, it's almost counterintuitive to the niching concept for a lot of people, because you focus on that one space and people get really good at it. But being able to branch into those...
That's a really good point, yeah.
Because it's
niching, and then off the back of the niching, how do I get the concentric circles outwards from that?
So if you're running a small business, then you might be looking for a partner who's an aged care specialist.
Exactly. Yeah.
But or something like that. I'm not professing everyone needs to grow, a massive business. What works for you works for you. But yeah, as long as from the client they feel like getting those services, it works really well.
But being able to have that conversation between the generations I'd say it's a skill that would be developed over practice. It'd be hard to...
I reckon a lot of your planners could do it.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't underestimate how good we are as a profession at talking to people and being great active listeners as well. So it wouldn't be as big a stretch and as intimidating as possible.
For some reason, when I'm listening to you say this, I am intimidated, yet at the same time, I had 65-year-old clients and 35-year-old clients.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
I don't know why I've got it as a block in my mind that it would be difficult to do, but I guess to your point, it probably isn't. I'm really experienced talking to both of those. I just haven't done it at the same time.
See, financial planning is a funny thing, right? Clients are homogeneous and we are variables. It's all between your ears.
Jesus.
So they're all the same. And last time I looked, they all have the same needs.
It's all in your head.
That's it. Yeah. Are we going to do the just do it? No?
Go for it. Roxy says just do it.
Yeah, you can be Shia LaBeouf.
So, how many people are in your practice now?
So I've got an answer, but more importantly, we joined in Focus last year, which is their own AFSL, and they've got 160 people in their network, and a lot of them are their own businesses and licensed through in Focus. They get a bit of the DNA that we have, and then on top of that, we've got about 45 people in direct with clients, as well as some other servicing businesses around the world. Wow. And are you always on the hunt for good talent? What's the deal there? Yeah, look, we hire people. So wait, not sheep. Look, New Zealand business. They're really good at reconciling accounts. You'd be surprised. Your spending has been bad this month. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Remember earlier we talked about something, a sign where we could do if it all got hard? Yeah. Okay. The question was, look, So what InFocus has done is they've signed a 10-year contract with H&R Block. And so H&R Block is probably stereotyped as a quite methodic, low-end income tax return business that is a one-trick pony, okay? And that's what you would say, and you probably all think that they're franchise operations run by different people. Okay, so part of that's correct. However, it's a company. It's listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They're one company. They're owned almost entirely by the mothership, and they know that they need to grow their offering. So they've only got 800,000 clients, and we think that 20% of them would make quite good financial planning clients.
Wow!
And so we're allocating them, and we've got more. We have more. We have more leads than we do people.
Wow,
right?
that's insane.
So there's a problem. We have a problem, a good one, but and tax season's around the corner, and that's when realistically.
When did this happen? This deal with HR Block?
This happened last year. That
that's
InFocus
massive.
did. Yeah. So it's
So someone's going out trying to develop relationships with the local accountant, and you guys were just...
We're embedded. There's 420 offices around Australia, and quite a few of the good InFocus people are meeting with them. Look, there is some change management there.
Sure.
They are accountants, and that's what they've been, dyed in the wool, and but like every accountant, and but it's a great opportunity. I think if you if you just hit the paper and get some relationship building skills, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, so, it's a real interdisciplinary relationship management, the like peer-to-peer referring.
Yeah, and also it came out in the budget, but the Australian Tax Office and government want people to consolidate their supers.
Yes, they do.
And so they've been supplying data to really large accounting firms, I think, for the last 18 months. Direct from the ATO to the accounting firms to flag opportunities for clients who need advice. So we get these pings, and
we don't give it to the advice firms.
No, well that's as it turns out, because they're tax lodgement agency, right? So that's how it works. But then they worked out. They went, well, now we've got it. We might actually need to get advice. So that's actually been really quite a beginning of the journey. And I would say that. That as a firm, we've really refined that process. That's cool. That's really cool. That's going to bring some clients in.
Look at that. The ATO doing lead gen for you, ironically.
It's amazing.
It's
you look at you just bashful. You're like, yeah, that's happening.
Yeah.
Thank you, ATO.
If only they could just do our product comparisons
and SOAs.
That's one reason we need. The other one is we're ambitious. We've got great structure. So when you build a really good platform, and we've got great platforms across our business in professional standards, in IT, in governance, in advice delivery, and all of that to complement, the actual relationship stuff. When you built that, you don't have to build it twice. So we've got a platform that's robust. We're non-institutionally aligned, which apparently is a thing. It's always been a thing, but it's a really big thing these days. So we're just interested in that. But we obviously want to hire people that want to do this for a career, for a long time, that want to genuinely be passionate about financial planning. So
Announcer is open.
Announcer InFocus, mate. We're open for business, and I'm sure that all good news agencies have our CCAD.
Well, it's not a segue into. I had a chat with Andrew a few weeks ago about the whole transition that's going on with the banks. Like, they all want to sell their firms. There's a lot of advisors that they want to join firms, whether it's with Andrew or someone out in the XY network.
So, really intriguing. So I probably, looking at me, you can tell, but it's a bit of Goldilocks. So in 2003, I got my own financial services license, and I held it for 10 years. And so, responsible manager, and we held it. And in 2013, 2012, with legislation changing and whatnot, I just looked myself in the mirror and my team and said, I don't think we've got the firepower, not just intellectually, but also just the hours to be able to run a high quality business in a very fast moving landscape of legislation. We had no problems with what we did and profitability and clients. So then we made a move to a large institution. One of the largest in town, and we went through the motions there for a couple of years. So we've had the smallest, we've gone the biggest, And where we've settled is probably a destination that's very comfortable for us, is in the middle. So we've got just under sort of 75 people in that back office in Australian who look after what we do. And there's a homogeneous CRM as well, so called Platform Plus that everyone in the licensee uses, which allows us several things, but it's great for governance and it assists with PI insurance and several other factors. So, so right now people are either thinking, well, am I going to go to another larger license or am I going to get self-licensed? And
there's a place in the middle.
There is a place in the middle, yep, for people who just want to be advisors. And I've done both. So we'll see. It's I think the Royal Commission, we had all the heat has happened at the moment, but the recommendations aren't handed down to the 19th of February next year, and there's a chance they might actually be extended, and they might extend the scope. So there's potential ticking time bombs in there, and there's been no favours at both ends of the spectrum, both big and small, in financial planning out of this, and I think probably the most significant risk a small licence like we used to be has is if the government just requires a minimum level of capital adequacy held on trust. That'll be a deal breaker. Because no matter how you want to be in control of your own destiny and whatnot, if you can't get mum and dad to give you $1 million to put at ASIC's trust account. Not that I have no idea, and I'm not speculating, but
sure.
But if they do come back with
something,
something like that, that's going to be an issue to everyone.
Yes.
But it's something that we're prepared for already. So, and we've been speaking about for years, because it was always one. When you look at your risk management, it's always one of the things that will happen. So we'll find out.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I feel like you're covering all the bases. You're even covering those that are yet to exist.
That's fourth base, mate.
That's fourth.
You've been to fourth base on the first date? There you go.
Don't answer that question. It's a trick question.
So you've been along to one of the XY events before. You digging what's going on here? Do you sort of feel a synergy with the way that you've looked at things for a long time, and then
very leading question, Clay.
Well, it's really cool, because essentially this is why XY was created, to put a banner on something, to have these conversations. And if I still had my practice at this point, I'd be running out of this conversation, implementing.
About a lot of notes written down.
Yeah, absolutely. And so first of all, thanks for coming in and sharing. But do you feel a sort of an affinity with what these guys are talking about on the group, and your own career?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The appearance fee was nice. Thank you.
And the rider?
We pay him Maltesers.
That was nice. So, no, I wouldn't be here. I've learnt a lot. I've learnt that you can write the word following, which is cool, because I did.
You got to be careful with that one, because apparently there's a function where you don't have to say following. You can just actually
like F, like Homer Simpson, where he just does the Y.
Well, there's F, and then
what could happen? So no, I've learnt that that's it. I like the collegiate environment. Something that we've implemented over the years is like an Ask the Expert, where someone can ask a question within our group. Where we have a Slack. We have banned emails between people. We've had Slack for years.
That's awesome.
And it's like this thing that grows and gets stronger the more people contribute. And the XY has taken that and has turned my paltry 50-odd people into 2,000, right? So it reminds me of the old Linux technology back when computers were starting to get there. All the people were just, we don't mind, let's just make this whole thing better. So I love that. I love that about it. And I love when I glance down and see someone asking a question and I see a really great answer, quite timely, come up there. It's like, this is cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really helping. I like the way you guys manage and adjudicate
difficult
the site. Yep. So you must have some sort of inherent sadomasochism sort of a tendency. So
I didn't say it. I did not say it. I didn't know how to describe it. Actually, that sounds good. Yeah.
The word's flagellation. So, but no, I do. I like that, and like. The most difficult thing for you guys is going to be managing the growth, not kicking it off. I own a couple of shares in some tech firms, and you're getting to that stage now where decisions that you make will impact it, not decisions that your people who follow you make will impact it. So it's a.
We've always thought that was the case, but maybe it wasn't.
but it's so key. I would say that. I have an affinity to the.
Awesome.
And also they're starting up and they're trying something different.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was on record, but we went monthly fee for service in 1997, and we did hybrids in the same year, and I think that that a lot of people are doing that.
What made you do that? Genuine question. Like, what made you go to fee for service in 97?
I wanted to.
Did you hear anyone else was doing it, or what was the environment?
No, well, so what I did the same qualification. So I went to university, right? And the person sat next to me is a lawyer, the person sat next to me an accountant. And so 1 year after, and I went into financial planning, 1 year after being in university, they both had professions that were respected. And I was in this startup thing, and yet I was just as smart as them. Right. And it used to irritate me. And I worked out the reason why we didn't have the respect was actually our problem and the way we engaged our clients. And so I just started mirroring the way in which whether it's an accounting firm or a law firm or an IT firm, how they tender for business. And they tender and they have tender docs proposals and they have times and the ranks. And I built a service scheme around that years and years ago. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving our clients who do that for a living the same format that they do for a living.
Good point.
And they look at it, they see the value prop, they articulate it, and they follow through a process there. So for me, that worked. The other thing that worked was that when I started at 22, 21, whatever it was, I figured that I was familiar with the concept of annuity income stream and things that you learn in university, like discounted valuations and stuff like that. So I figured that if you kept your client very happy for a long period of time, not only did you retain the level of revenue and hence EBIT that you achieved in the first year, but it's self-fulfilling. So our clients are aspirational. They wouldn't pay for advice. And all your clients who pay for advice are aspirational. They're like people who pay for tennis coaches or personal trainers or life coaches. So they're only going to get more successful. So the biggest uplift in revenue and the biggest uplift in wealth was the fact that we picked people as clients who did the legwork for us. So they, but you need to
Good
be,
point.
yeah. And so a catch cry that we have is our job is to be inspirational to aspirational people.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I dig that.
Yeah.
So the people that don't have aspirational people, what do they do? What are the advisors without aspirational people?
Well, can I question, are they inspirational?
Oh. So wait, so are you taking people that aren't aspirational and turning them aspirational?
No. So we want people who are aspirational, and by having a serious fee agreement up front, if they're not going to commit the time, the effort, and the money after the first sort of interaction with you, well, that Charles Darwin's them out, right?
So you're saying that if people haven't had those cogs click in their mind about, then maybe they're not for advice? Is that
not yet? Never say never, but not yet, right?
Do you do anything to foster?
From not yet curious.
To now?
Like a client receivable column.
Prospects maybe?
Receivable.
So you can have an ongoing nurture if they want. They can opt in and stuff like that. But in essence, what are there 20,000 financial planners? And
something like that.
I would say,
9 million possible quite good quality clients, and yet we're only allowed to have 200 each per year or per person. I reckon it's enough.
So it's always been the case.
And our job is not to drag clients kicking and streaming into a retirement that they want. Our job is to facilitate them achieving their goals. So, but the flip side of that is, and there's a whole relationship piece on this as well. You need to be inspirational to them as well. So you need to be conducting yourself. If you aren't taking your own advice, and in fact at an answer, we won't let our advisors do their own plan. They have to go in as a client of someone else. It's compulsory. So I'm sorry to my advice. I actually have two because it's I think they get advice fatigue. And we have to come in with
calling your advisor every week.
You're
a problem client, aren't you, mate? I look
Very
at
demanding.
you, you're like, yes, I am.
AMP's going down again.
Poor Ray.
So we make that as part of what we do, and it's one of our core values, practice what you preach, I suppose. But
what about that journey bit? Because I could, from what you're saying, you can see a bit of a way for that to evolve in the future of the people that aren't aspirant at the moment, to sort of get them over into a frame of mind that would be conducive to advice?
Yeah, look, there's a whole industry, and I suppose let's pick on the younger, and we had a point there about disengaged, and the government actually confirmed that young people were disengaged by using some of these tools like auto consolidations and not. There's going to be unintended consequences, I get that, but the general inference is they're not engaged. So what does engage you? What are your trigger events? And they can come in various ways, shapes or forms. I mean, some people mature early and are ambitious early. Some people have families early, or sadly, some people have bad news early. So there's not a one-size-fits-all to when people want to get engaged. But I think the damn maths tell you that the earlier that you can do it, the better off they're going to be. So tailoring packages that progress up, or maybe around life stages are sensible. Having digital engagement, I know that a lot of the XY, that from what I've read, clients are more than comfortable with the concept of Zoom and doing a Camtasia rigging or whatever you want to do. And so there is going to be those ability to have various service levels, but the commonality is that you believe those clients actually are aspirational. That's my thoughts.
Yeah,
you can have aspirational retirees, by the way. So that's not a paradox. So
it's not defined by age.
That's right. That's right. So I would say the definition of an aspirational person in retirement is someone who still wants to be able to feel empowered about what they're doing and have...
Yeah, not just sitting on the couch.
Correct. They feel in charge and they're not something else is in charge of them, and you can really see when the lights go out financially, when they feel as if... And that's when the wind sets in, right? So I think that's a good thing. And the other... And that's probably why I do a lot of LinkedIn, by the way. So LinkedIn's the largest... pool of aspirational people on the planet. Because why would you be on LinkedIn unless you were aspiring? So
good point.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, LinkedIn is just such a great vehicle for. We just obtain so many new quality clients from that. It's really cool. So if you're not on that one, get on it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
maybe not get off the Facebook group. That hurt. That shin kick. Sorry, Mark, if you're listening.
We did LinkedIn. Didn't work too well for groups.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Yeah, I totally agree. So I'm just talking about
Yeah, could you post? Do you post every day on LinkedIn?
It must just feel
feels like
that.
more than that sometimes.
No, once a week.
Once a week.
Probably once a week.
I post once every 2 days.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn. Obviously, Chris Bates owns this space. He posts twice a day.
Okay.
He's killing it as well off LinkedIn. I think, but nailing it as the largest pool of aspirational people.
I think we get about. In an average week, you get about 40 to 60,000 people read your stuff, right? So that ranks it. I mean, no, that's only after a couple of years, and it's not that impossible. And that ranks it. You're into sort of small to medium-sized magazine readerships in local areas.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the power of social, as you know. But you've got to then.
So how long have you been posting on LinkedIn?
About 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. Wow. So
because the reporting on it's now brilliant.
Yeah, look,
I only just sort of started doing it in the last sort of 3 or 4 months. Now that the reporting's so good on it,
yeah. Another tip there is that I've got another saying, and it's you've got to be interested in people, and I think that's good. But you can be interesting.
Yeah, totally.
So and I think the buzzword for that is being authentic, right? But just being interesting, right? So if
you get interested and interesting, you're getting close to authentic.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you so there's a couple of rules of thumb there that people love hearing. Relating back any grandstand proclamation you've got back to your own story. They're by far the most engaging.
And you share a lot, and that's probably something that people can take out of it. That it's not. Yeah. You're not hiding what you do. You're sharing exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a citizenship thing. It'll blow over, I think. But other than that, I think we're fine. So you're right. Just doing that's a cool thing. But I mean, everyone's got their own way of marketing.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. It's actually off-putting the amount of people that read your stuff, but you don't realise it because they don't engage, right? So I don't know what.
Well, it's the same with XY Advisor.
Yeah.
Even though we've got ridiculous active stats in terms of people that are commenting and posting, it's the actual the amount of people that you talk to in the street and they go like, "Oh, love what's going on."
We just see sort of a trend line, but you don't. But when people talk about it, you're like, "Oh, yeah."
It's true. I mean, quite often in the street, you would also, Adrian, have you stand back. You're 200 metres from this school. Oh, if I had $1. So,
all right, we're cutting that
bit out. All right. Well, on that note, mate, is there anything that you'd like to talk about just to wrap up as far as if people want to get in contact with you or anything like
grand
that?
statements, proclamations.
Yeah, cool. So, almost everything we've got is on our LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn or on our website. What are we? We're Australia's healthiest place. We're top 21st actually of best place to work in Australia. Number one in our industry. We care for our clients. We care for our staff. We've implemented a 2-hour off per day to work out or play sport to measure your blood sugar levels.
Get out of
our
town.
Staff. So we've been doing that for years. We're Sadic Rhythm.
That's so
and
good.
we've got high performing people who work for us. And if any of that resonates with you, drop us a line. And even if you're in a small business, I mean, Adrian will tell you I'm pretty giving of our time. I'm at that stage in where I'm at in this journey that I really do get quite a lot of utility out of seeing people take some advice and actually kick on, regardless of whether there's anything in it for me, because it just helps. The tide rises, right? So and in fact, that's what you're doing.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the donuts.
She's actually